right. Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome yet again. So, the second part of this particular unit involves something very different. So, we just tackled morphing, but now we want to go through and create a particular pose. To do that, you have to download this file. This is the norman.blend file. And whenever you open it up, it's going to look exactly like this. You have your character already with all these little boxes kind of floating around him. And this is a really important lesson to learn because we're going to be using this same model, this same character, later on for our final project, okay? So here's how this works. Whenever you're looking at this character, you always want to start down at this bottom, this kind of circle with little arrows on it. This is the main orientation of your character. You can choose to rotate them, and look how it moves his entire body, right? This flat plane that he's standing on is the main way to move the entire body all at once. If you need your tools, there's a little tiny arrow tucked away here. You just click on that and out pop your tools. And we have our move tool, rotate, and scale. So using basically only the move tool, though you're welcome to use the rotate tool as well, we want to put our character in a particular pose. Well, what pose is that? Well, let's figure that out real quick. I'm just going to shrink my screen here for a little bit, and you'll see, here we are. This is the same file that you're looking at in your course context, right? So we just finished up with our morph project, giving you those step-by-step instructions. And down here you'll see that it's asking you to pick a couple of these photographs, these poses, right? And to mimic these poses in Blender using this model of Norman. It's almost like you're posing like an action figure, if you want to think about it that way, or kind of moving something to fit one of these images. So let's do that. I'm going to shrink my screen just a little so I can see both at the exact same time. Makes it a little easier to navigate. I'm also going to turn off some of these elements. So in this top corner here, I have my camera. I don't really need that right now. I have my lights. If I click on these eyeballs, that makes them disappear. All right, just to make things a little bit easier to navigate. So I've got my character here, and let's pick one of these poses. Let's do, we could do the upside down. Let's do this girl here. All right, so she looks like she's right out of the Matrix. We're going to do her pose. Now, if it's not perfectly accurate, that's okay. We're just getting comfortable with how to move our character. So think about yourself. Whenever you first move, there's kind of your torso, right? We have this red bounding box, and that's his chest. And I can move that around, and where it moves, you'll notice that his arms move as well. His stomach here is kind of squishy, but notice that his arms move with us. The same is true with his hips. If I move his hips around, his whole body moves. He actually kneels automatically. Watch that. Look at that. Right? So let's look at this image. Well, it looks like her hips are kind of down low and at a slight angle. So we'll go down and then at a slight angle, and then they're kind of turned a little bit. So let's use our rotate tool to just turn his hips a little bit. Okay. Next, let's work on just the feet. So notice his hands are still up in the air. That's okay. We're not moving everything all at once. We're just moving one thing at a time. So to move his feet, you'll see there's a red box right by his ankle there. We're going to grab that, and then we're going to move that out. And notice her foot's kind of rotated, so let's rotate his foot, just like that. Okay, perfect. Looks like her knee is kind of inward, so we can grab just his knee. There's a little red square right there. I'll move that knee inward a little bit. You can also grab, there's these little floating triangles. Those also control kind of the placement of his knee. You can do that as well if you prefer, if that's a little easier for you. And you'll find these little handlebars kind of floating all over the place. There's little diamond triangle forms here that control his elbows and all sorts of different handle holds that we can use to kind of puppeteer our character. So let's see, the knee, we're going to kind of place right about there. That looks pretty good. Okay. Now, her torso is kind of bending a little bit to the side, so let's take his torso. Whoop. There we go. Grab the red bounding box, and let's move that kind of here. We got to twist it, so we'll grab the rotate tool. Looks like it's turned just a little bit and kind of facing down. Just a little bit right there. Kind of twist that in space. There we go. And again, you have to kind of dial it in just a little bit, just so that you're happy with what we're doing. Okay. So his hips look good, his legs look good, his chest looks good. Let's do her neck. So she's looking kind of upwards at us. Actually, his neck looks pretty good already, but you know what? Let's manipulate it anyway. So I'm going to zoom in. You'll notice that there is a bounding box, this big blue box surrounding his entire head, and there's also a blue box surrounding just his neck. So let's use both of those. We'll do just the neck first, kind of going downwards, and then we'll do just the head, kind of going upwards. That's kind of how our bodies work, right? That looks pretty good. Maybe it's tilted just a hair, like that. Okay, cool. All right, so now those arms, they're kind of sticking up the air. Let's go ahead and rotate those around. So to move the arms, the easiest way to do it, you could grab each and every individual joint here, the elbows and the shoulders and all that. But I'm going to grab this kind of red box. And just like the feet have a red box, the hands do too. And where I move them, they automatically bend and wiggle exactly how we want. So that's pretty nice. So let's stretch that arm kind of out and back, a slight bend to the elbow. We'll move it forward just a little bit. All right, let's grab this other hand. We're going to pull that straight down. And again, move it forward. All right, just like so. Maybe move the chest a little bit more so we can rotate that arm down. That looks better. Okay, now for the hands we want to rotate. So let's do that. I'm grabbing this blue bounding box here. That controls the entire hand itself. So we rotate like that. Rotate like that, and then a little bit that way. Okay, that's pretty good. And again, where you move these little triangles, they control the elbows. So sometimes you might want to rotate or move those around to get just the look you're going for. We can also control different features as well. So I can grab this kind of figure 8 shape, and that controls where his eyes look. I can control each individual eyebrow. I can actually grab this little plus on his chin, and that controls his mouth as well. So we can kind of puppeteer his mouth later on, make him do some lip syncing, right? And also you can control his fingers, all the way down to his fingers. So what's cool for the fingers is, again, you can grab each individual finger if you want, or you'll notice that you've got these little purple curly cues. And these allow you to control kind of the curl or the bend of each individual finger. So I can kind of spread that finger like that there. Grabbing just this purple bit, I can kind of bend that out a little bit. See, I'm rotating those fingers, kind of splaying them out a little bit more. Oh, let's rotate that guy. Okay. Grab just that finger. Just like so. Let's rotate that. Just to spread the fingers out just like hers there. Oop. Okay, and same for the thumb. It also has a little object there, a little curly cue. Okay, so we can work with each individual finger as well. So you want that pose to be as close to realistic as you can possibly get. There you go. That looks pretty close. We have posed our character in a matter of minutes. So you're going to do this a handful of times. When you're done, you can just save your Blender file individually. That's fine. Or just take a screenshot if you want to. That's perfectly fine too. Another way to do it is to actually save an image. But to do that, we need to align our camera. So we need to turn our camera back on. You'll notice that there's our camera right here. Okay. We want to move our camera so that it can see the entire character. That looks about right. You can see the entire camera or character right there. And then we would go over to our rendering options. Let's move this aside real quick. And down here we have our rendering options and our output. And you would do this the same way you would render a video. So I'm going to render it to my desktop. You'll see I have a whole bunch of different options here. I'm going to name it test pose image. You can name it whatever you want. I hit accept. Now it's saved to my desktop. And I want to save it as a, we'll do a black and white photo, why not? And file format, well, we want an image, so I'm going to do a JPEG, that works fine. Looks pretty good. I also probably should turn on my light sources so I can actually see. And let's test real quick what this picture looks like in the lighting. So to do that, there's these little circles down here, and they show me what different stages of the animation look like. So, you know what, let's add in a light source real quick. I'll do add, come up to light. Let's just add a sun. And this is just going to kind of give a nice ambient glow to everything. Strengthen that up a little bit. So there's our character. There's our ambient glow. See how it's kind of lit a little bit brighter now? So that looks pretty good. So I've got my render options set and ready. Everything's good. I'm going to go up to the top, render, and render image. And that's going to go ahead and start to export my pose. And there you go. Look at that. That looks pretty good, right? So there you go. Have fun with this process. Find these different images inside your course textbook, and you want to reference them to get those multiple poses. That's the second part of your activity for Unit 6, Activity 1. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.